You may hear a air conditioner running in the background. While the sun is shining, I can run the 500 watt, 5000 BTU higher air conditioner with no problem. And we love it. It helps so very much when it's so hot. And I come in here, we all come in here to cool off. My monitor and laptop are fully 100% off the grid, as well as everything else. But these are hooked up to the to one separate unit we have, and then the rest of the house, whatever we need, we plug into the other set. We have two sets of solar panels and two separate circuits. So all separate from the house, though. Separately wired, not wired into the house. So this here I can run any time of day or night, no problem, because it's very little. I think that's maybe 30 watts, and I don't know, the laptop at max will pull what, 80-90 watts. No, this one's smaller. This one's maybe 70 watts max. So definitely I can handle this. I never even worry about turning these on at any time or day or night. By the way, that's DIY2 video site. Go on and check it out, guys, where everybody gets paid, even for commenting. So check it out. Well, guys, here you might notice a beautiful sight. Sawdust on the ground. Sawdust everywhere. So I got it running and had it fixed up. I did not yet sharpen the chain. I just wanted to see if this thing would work at all and how it would work with this saw, my old blue SXL Homelight. And I shaved off the top piece, which was already curved. It's amazing how fast this stuff warps. This end piece is completely warped already. Oh look, there's a frog. I see a frog. I always see things in the wood. There's the two eyes of a frog. See the? I'm going to have Melanie do that into a frog somehow. So anyway, this was the first piece off. And then I shaved off two more pieces. And I took them inside so they won't split and warp so bad. It's going to start splitting on the ends really fast once you cut it. But then the chain flew off when I got through. You can see where it bound a little bit, and the chain popped off just as I finished the cut, which is fine because I didn't want to go any further than that anyway. I just wanted to get the feel for it, and then I have to dig out my files, and I'm going to sharpen all the teeth on that, and it's ready to roll. Now, this is not a very big saw for this machine. It'll run it, but it's got to be really, really slow, okay? So I'm going to take it really easy. I started out with a very short, I don't know, maybe 18-inch log. Not a big deal. It's firmly in there though, shakes the whole table. Firmly in there, and it did the work. It did make the cut. So, and I don't know what this is. It's not pine. I'm not sure what that is. Some of you guys might recognize that and be able to tell me what that is. Sadly, I'm not an expert on wood. But that's one of the logs I had from out last year, the truckloads I brought home. Let me take you in a few minutes and show you the cuts that I made. And one of them is going to be a footstool, but I'll show you that when I get inside. After I finished that, I got this out of the tent, and I worked on it. I've had this since 2014, and never ran it since, because I'll show you in a minute. This machine didn't like the hills of Pine Bush, and the problem is every time I left the driveway and went down the hill, it would seize up. The piston would fill with gas, or the cylinder would fill with gas too rapidly and lock up and seize up the engine just like it had overheated and seized. The first time it ever did it, the wheel locked up, the engine seized up. I couldn't even crank it. It wouldn't start with the electric, and I couldn't even kick it over. It was seized up solid. And I had no idea. I thought the engine blew. It was still under guarantee. I took it in 4 or 5 times during my guarantee period, and he never could fix it. He would run it on flat land and it ran perfect, but he never took it down the hill like I kept telling him. So I ended up parking it because one day it seized up. I heard something squeal and spin inside, and from then on there's been a knocking noise, which I'll show you in a minute. I got this out today. I took off the entire top end. I I drained the varnish out of the gas tank and got rid of that, and then I had to bypass the diaphragm fuel pump, which is a vacuum powered pulsation type fuel pump, a diaphragm. That's actually right here. I bypassed that because it wasn't working and I wasn't getting gas through. I took off the air filter, I sprayed some starter fluid in, cranked it, and it burned it ran. So I knew the engine was going to run. I opened up the carburetor and it was clean inside. So the next thing I did was, that's when I bypassed that thing. And I ran to get, I put 50, what am I trying to say? I put fuel mix, oil and fuel mix in there, because this hasn't been touched at all in 4 years. So I put a chainsaw mix in there. I know, don't freak out if some of you are going to have a fit that I did that. Others people are going to congratulate me or compliment me for it. But anyway, I figured a little bit of lubrication on the top end after all this time can't hurt. So then I got it running. It ran, and I've been running it all afternoon on and off. Now, this thing only has 4,600 miles on it. That's it. Original miles. So it was like new when I got it. So once I got it running, I felt comfortable. I went and got the registration. It's good till 2021. But I don't know how long the engine's going to last, and I'll show you in a minute here. I'll get it fired up and I'll pick up the camera and I'll show you what bugs me about it. Maybe you can tell me what you think. I'm thinking it's a rod knock. A friend of mine said it could be the bearing is spun. Not quite sure. And it's questionable what the make of this is. It said Kinro. I think it said Kinko or Kinro. I'll have to check the tag. But it's a Runmaster. I'm going to have to look it up and see if I can find parts for this. If not, I'm just going to run it. Alright, I'm going to change the oil tomorrow, make sure it's all good, and I'm going to run it. Now, there's some specs on here. Right there. Vehicle, control information, manufactured by Zhenjiang Summit Huwen Motors. It's partly ripped off. QP Sports LLC. All the engine details are on there. Part of it's ripped off, I guess, from the move when I brought it back from New York. But all the specs are on there, all the engine details, the manufacturer, model number is all in there. So I'm going to look that up online, see if I can find parts for this. Otherwise, let me show you what's going on. I don't know if I can do this. No, I can't do it with the camera on. I was going to try to show you with the camera on, but for one thing, the electric starter, the battery's shot. So I'm going to have to start it. I'll be right back. Alright, I don't know if you can hear this. I'm not sure what that is. It sounds like it's in here. I'm not sure what it is or where it is, but something's rattling. So, but it runs well. So something up in here is rattling and banging, and I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a real good look at that and see. Looks like it might have a little bit of a fuel leak. There's some moisture down in there. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's not a good thing. After sitting all this time, I'll have to check things out and make sure it's not leaking gas. But there's definitely nothing dripping. I mean, it's like a brand new engine. It's just been sitting for so long. So I had to go to town with Melody anyway and get a few things for her. So I went ahead and got this registered. It was only $15 for 3 years. I hope it lasts and runs for me. And that sums up our day. I worked, it was so hot. I did not want to be seeing on camera. It was absolutely disgusting, and I think you'll be happy that I spared you that. It was really, really hot and humid. It was 92, 94 degrees again today, and very humid. So, yeah, I didn't want to be seen. Anyway, I worked on this and got it going. So let me show you the wood that I got cut. By the way, there's my New York tag. There's the real deal. Alright, 2014, that was me. That was my bike. And that's just, I know some people are going to get confused and think I just bought it. This was mine. That's registered in my name, and I just switched it over to Michigan today. It's been sitting since 2014 untouched, and it lives again. Well, there's my first ever board cut off on that sawmill. My first ever, and I don't know what I'm going to do with that exactly, but there it is. I am going to paint the ends. If not today, I'm going to do that tomorrow so they don't split too deeply. And my second ever piece of wood, and you can see it's already splitting already today. Doesn't take much at all for that stuff to start to split on the ends, so I have to paint the ends. I might even do that as soon as I'm done with the camera. I'm going to hit that with a shot of spray paint. Seal those ends so that it doesn't dry faster from the ends than it does in the middle, and that's what causes this to split. So this here I cut about 1.5 inches or so thick. I wasn't very worried about being specific, and I mean, it's a pretty clean cut, except for where I hung up for a minute, probably because of that and with a dull chain. So other than that, it's a pretty straight, clean cut. And yeah, I'm pleased with my first ever piece of wood. Now this, I'm not sure which face I want up. I'm thinking this side, because then you can see the angle of the where the bark was, the slope. And I'm going to smooth it off. I'm going to probably sand it, heavily varnish it, and make this a footstool once I cut off the split ends and straighten the ends. This will probably be a footstool. That's the first ever piece of lumber I ever cut on my own mill, so definitely something I want to keep and you know, have around for memories. Actually, this was the very first piece I ever cut off, besides the bark that I cut off previously. So I'm probably gonna wood burn something on here, you know, sand it, varnish, wood burn it, and put it up on my wall for memories. I know, sentimental, weird, but you know, whatever. I think it's sort of cool and unique to have my first ever board for memories. So that's it, guys. That was my day. Again, it was just too brutally hot to do any recording. I don't think you wanted to see me anyway in that case. And there you go. So most of the day was part of the day was spent driving anyway, and driving my bike. So, alright guys, I'll see you tomorrow. A new adventure awaits on the Off-Grid Homestead. This is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World and the Off-Grid Project. See you tomorrow.